In this video, you'll discover Dr. David Sinclair's newest updates to his supplement routine. If you've been following Dr. David Sinclair, you know that he updated supplement protocol from time to time. And this year, he has made two major changes that most people have missed. But it's extremely difficult to track his changes. Some supplements he used to take and he stopped. Others he recently added. What does he used to take? What has he changed? And his new experiments. And also, I'm going to give you a bonus that is going to allow you even further to copy what he's doing. Everything simplified in one place. This is supplement number 1. From 2020 to 2022, Dr. David Sinclair used to mention that he takes both fisetin and quercetin. But first, let's start with why he decided to take them in the first place and the experiment that he ran on himself.
The one that I'm testing out is fisetin. Now shown that it's senolytic, it kills off the senescent cells in the body, at least in mice, probably in humans based on some human data. So I've added quercetin, which is also suppresses the activity of senescent cells.
However, recently, it would seem to me that he dropped one of these. Can you guess which it is? Now let's go to a clip from middle 2023.
So resveratrol and fisetin are chemical compounds from plants that are stressed. Resveratrol you find in grapes, fisetin is found in other plants that are stressed. And so I take usually between 0.5 gram and 1 gram of these chemicals as well in the morning.
David Sinclair usually mentions quercetin and fisetin together since they serve similar purpose, targeting senescent cells. However, he didn't mention quercetin, not only with fisetin, but at all. So it sounds to me like he stopped taking quercetin. He may still cycle it for killing senescent cells, we don't know. And based on the data on quercetin, and I believe that he knows exactly what he's doing, it makes sense to me. If you've been subscribed to my newsletter, you probably know it too, because you received my quercetin report, which include conclusions from analyzing over 250 studies. It says in the report, rule number 1, avoid quercetin supplement for longevity under age 60. You already received the optimal dose in your diet. Here is why. Excess unnecessary supplementation of quercetin will have side effects. Inhibiting sirtuin-6, which promotes longevity, inhibiting NRF2, a potent longevity mechanism, and reducing glutathione. All of these will hurt your longevity. Now, you can get this report for free. I'll tell you when to take quercetin for longevity, the doses, and the timing. You can find the link in the pinned comment. Again, it's absolutely free. So, the verdict. I suspect that every day he only takes fisetin. How much does he take? Sinclair said he takes between 500 milligrams to 1,000 milligrams per day. But I think it's 500 milligrams based on a past comment from 2021.
Fisetin and quercetin.
0.5 gram in the yogurt.
If you feel more clarity about Dr. David Sinclair protocol, please subscribe to my channel. Subscribe now and stay ahead in the race against time and aging. The next supplement, very few people even know that Sinclair takes. For whatever reason, he keeps it as a secret. It doesn't appear in his book, and he hardly ever mentioned that in any of his interviews. But he did his PhD on it, and probably have been taking it over 20 years. In fact, this could be the very first supplement that Dr. David Sinclair has begun taking, years back. Do you know what it is? It's not resveratrol.
And alpha-lipoic acid, I did my PhD on this molecule coincidentally, and it is a molecule that is very good for the energy in cells.
Actually, the thing that turned me onto that was I spoke to Denham Harmon's family. So Denham Harmon, you may know him.
He's the father of the oxidative stress theory of aging.
Yeah. I was fortunate to win an award with his name on it, and I went out there and his family were very generous to host me. And he was still alive at the time. He passed away a few years ago, but he was still healthy and going into work at 92. And so I said, what's his secret? Oh, lipoic acid.
What about the dose? He fails to mention his exact dose, but a standard dose of alpha-lipoic acid is about 300 milligrams, either once a day or twice a day. Also, you're going to get a better absorption if you take it on empty stomach. So probably lipoic acid is the first supplement that Dr. David Sinclair ever taken. As we move to the next supplement, let me remind you that today we're going to also cover Sinclair's longevity drugs. And there is one addition that surprised me. And I'm going to create a special summary for you to simplify everything that we learned today about Dr. David Sinclair protocol. This is also an interesting experiment he had. This is his last experiment. This is spermidine. Dr. David Sinclair started taking spermidine 2 years ago. Let's hear him speaking about that.
Just the last few months, I've added that to my protocol, and we'll have to see how my numbers look on Inside Tracker.
Does he still take it today? This segment is from 2023.
I'm asked this question every day. David, what do you take? Spermidine is a very interesting molecule, and you can buy it as a supplement, and it's been shown to extend the lifespan of many different animals, and probably it works by stabilizing the epigenome.
So yes, he continues to take spermidine. How much does it take?
How much of that are you taking?
A gram as well.
Okay.
Even though in this video, Dr. David Sinclair mentioned it takes 1 gram of spermidine, later in the comment section, he said, correction. I said I take 1 gram of spermidine, but the active ingredient in the capsules is 1 to 2 milligrams. I apologize for the confusion. So the verdict about spermidine is 1 to 2 milligrams taking every day in the morning. Now, if you too consider to take spermidine, maybe there is a safer and cheaper way to get spermidine. And many of my subscribers ask me how to get spermidine from food. This study measured how much spermidine in each type of food and ranked them from the highest concentration to the lowest. I'm quoting from this study. Spermidine concentration in foods was as follows. Mushroom, the highest, 88.6 milligrams per kilo of food. Green peas, 65 milligrams per kilo of food, and broccoli, 32 milligrams per kilo of food. So as you can see, there is a bunch of spermidine in mushrooms, but also in broccoli and green peas. These levels, coming from food, more than satisfy or at least similar to the levels of spermidine that Dr. Sinclair takes in a supplement form. And also there is another certainty about the safety of spermidine in those foods. Of course, the highest food in spermidine is wheat germ, which wasn't measured in the experiment. So we have seen one major change that he has made, but the next supplement is one of the most consistent that he has been taking for many years. What is not consistent is its legal status. Can you guess what it is?
And so NMN is what I take each day. I take a gram of it. I know a gram is likely to be raising my NAD levels during the day. I also try to time it with my natural circadian rhythm. So NAD will go up during the morning, getting ready. But if I take it at night, I'm actually starting to interfere with my sleep patterns.
In 2023, he spoke about the dose.
NAD boosters, I talked about NMN. There are other ones such as NR. I take a gram, 1,000 milligrams of NMN every day in the morning.
The verdict, he still takes 1 gram of NMN every day with water in the morning. The next supplement Dr. David Sinclair started taking after lipoic acid. This is the famous, or infamous, resveratrol. So let's go back. In 2019 book, he mentioned, I take 1 gram of NMN every morning along with 1 gram of resveratrol, shaken into my homemade yogurt. Does he still take the same dose? In 2022, in his very long interview in his channel, he confirmed, I'm quoting, I've been taking 1 gram of resveratrol since 2004. And in a recent segment from 2023, I showed you with fisetin, he measured that resveratrol again with the exact dose, 1 gram per day. So it's the same exact dose, the one he wrote in his book. Confirmed. Of course, if you follow Sinclair, it's not just how much resveratrol he takes, but also how. Now that has been evolved over the years. So I showed you in the book that he mentioned in 2019 that he mixes resveratrol with yogurt. We changed that protocol and then began to mix resveratrol with olive oil. However, I was pretty surprised to see that he also changed that protocol as well. Let's hear from him what he's doing now.
I've even tried, I like to mix up my diet like anybody else. I've tried olive oil plus a bit of vinegar and a basil leaf in the morning. It's like drinking, salad dressing in the morning. That one lasted for about a month. I've given up on that. I now like this coconut yogurt that you've turned me on to, actually.
The verdict, 1 gram of resveratrol mixed in coconut yogurt in the morning. The next 2 supplements that Dr. David Sinclair takes, they cover both longevity but also health, general health. The next one is fish oil, omega-3. This 2023 segment is one of the few segments where he mentioned fish oil.
The fish oils, those are very important for inflammation. And it turns out one of these molecules activates SIRT1. And maybe that's why these are good for health.
Since it wasn't included in his book, perhaps he only added this supplement to his routine very recently. What about the dose? Dr. David Sinclair never mentioned the dose, but I don't want to keep you in the dark on that, so I collected for you what other doctors are doing. Dr. Peter Attia, Dr. Rhonda Patrick, and Dr. Andrew Huberman. And all of them kind of take the same exact amount.
So by taking 4 of these capsules a day, I'm taking roughly 2 grams of EPA a day and probably 1.5 grams of DHA.
Now let's hear from Dr. Rhonda Patrick, how much she takes.
So I take 4 grams a day. I take 2 in the morning, 2 grams in the morning, and I take 2 grams in the evening.
Rhonda said that she takes 4 grams in total. Now let's hear from Dr. Andrew Huberman.
My understanding is that we need to hit a threshold level of EPA in order to derive these important benefits. I try and get 2 grams per day of EPA from supplementation.
Note that they all consume omega-3 in a supplement form only as a fish oil. I'm going to create another edition specifically on fish oil for longevity and general health, because they're subscribing now to get the special edition on omega-3 when it's going to come out. Similar to fish oil, vitamin D and K2 are basic supplements that cover not only longevity but basic health. And in 2019, in his book, Sinclair mentioned that he takes vitamin D and K2. Does he take them today? In mid-2023, he mentioned them.
Vitamin D3 and K2, these are very important, of course, in places where we avoid the sun or we cannot get enough sunlight. K2 is not very well known. Vitamin K2 will protect your cardiovascular system from calcium deposits and put the calcium into your bones rather than your arteries. And usually those supplements come together in the same pill, so I take that.
What about the dose of those 2 supplements? I never found one interview where he mentioned specific doses of those 2 supplements. A standard dose of vitamin D is between 2,000 to 5,000 units, and a standard dose of vitamin K2 is somewhere between 50 to 120 micrograms. So I estimate that his dose fall within this range. The verdict? He still takes vitamin D and K2, and the dose is unknown. The next supplement is the latest personal experiment Dr. David Sinclair added to his protocol. What is it, and how much does he take?
I think taurine is super interesting. This amino acid was shown in this science paper from last week. So when you give it to mice, they have a lot of health benefits that are similar to what I just described in humans. And they even gave it to monkeys and found that their health improved. But the big deal was that those mice lived 12 to 16% longer. It was a significant extension of lifespan, which is a big deal because if it had a negative side effect, they probably wouldn't have lived longer. I'm currently taking 2 grams a day and to see how that works with me.
So Sinclair started in 2023 to take L-taurine. And he said that it takes 2 grams a day. He seems uncertain because he doesn't fully understand the impact of taurine on mTOR.
The thing that confuses me and the literature right now and scientists is taurine is also known to activate mTOR. It seems to provide longevity despite activating mTOR.
How could a supplement that supposedly stimulates mTOR actually increase its longevity? I happen to interpret the exact study on which Sinclair based his decision to take L-taurine. And when I delved into the data, I found something interesting about mTOR. Maybe it's going to help you as well. This is from my L-taurine research video. mTOR is an important mechanism for accumulating protein and amino acids necessary for muscle growth. And this study specifically investigated mTOR in the muscles of the mice that were not exercising but were supplemented with taurine. And they compared these mice with mice without taurine. They analyzed the metabolism inside their muscles. So let's take a look at what they have found. Here in the upper right, you can see this PRS6P. Just assume this represents mTOR activation. Now let's compare the minus without taurine and the plus with taurine. Can you see how dull the taurine column is? This means that a lack of this activation of mTOR in the muscles of the mice supplemented with taurine. In fact, if you look to the left, you will see also the liver and brown fat exhibited similar results, a suppression of mTOR activation. This suggests that high-dose chronic taurine prevents mTOR from becoming fully activated. What does this mean to you? L-taurine possibly activates mTOR, but only in the early stages. And what really accelerates aging is probably the last stage of mTOR activation. and this full activation could have the negative impact that Dr. David Sinclair is afraid of. So the verdict is this: Dr. David Sinclair added 2 grams of L-taurine per day, but it's only an experiment. If you want to be more certain about your situation, I suggest watching my L-taurine research video, which I'm going to put in the pinned comment and in the description. So this was its recent experiment. The following is the last supplement on our list, and then we're going to move to the drugs. And I'm going to create a special summary for you to simplify everything that we learned today about Dr. David Sinclair protocol. This last supplement he takes probably because he also takes NMN. Can you guess what it is? TMG. Now we are getting more into the controversial stuff. Let's hear Dr. David Sinclair explain on why he used to take TMG.
The reason that I take glycine, actually specifically trimethylglycine, is to counter what I think might be going on with an NAD booster. We see in animals and even in humans that the levels of nicotinamide go up quite rapidly after taking NMN or NR. And too high levels of nicotinamide are not good, in part because the nicotinamide gets excreted through the kidneys. But the concern that's being talked about in social media especially is this drain of methyl nicotinamide a problem? The methyl groups are needed for the body. We need methyl for a whole range of things, including antioxidants. And so as a precaution, I take trimethylglycine so that I continue to give my body a source of methyl groups. I take it as a precaution because I know that trimethylglycine is not going to hurt me. Glycine is good, as you mentioned, Joe. And the other thing is trimethylglycine is also known as betaine, which on human cells is very good for them, including protecting them against stress. So I don't see any downside. It's not an expensive molecule. And the upside is that I'm preventing my body from being drained of methyl groups. But the reason that I can't say for sure that it's necessary actually is that our bodies can make methyl groups. There's a whole pathway. In fact, I did a PhD on it when I was in Australia.
Now, Dr. David Sinclair didn't mention TMG in his last interviews. As he stopped taking TMG, your guess is as good as mine. But as we can see how he adds and stack up supplements, the likelihood that he doesn't stop taking them unless there is a very good reason or risk of taking them. And TMG is a pretty safe supplement. How much does he take? He never said. But the standard dose is about 500 milligrams. The verdict about TMG is yours. Based on what he said, you can make up your own mind if you want to add this supplement to your supplement routine. Now let's move to Dr. David Sinclair longevity drugs. Here, I was surprised to discover that Dr. David Sinclair added recently a drug that he said that in the past made him feel unwell. This drug is the drug that Brian Johnson takes too, and it's going to be the last on today's list. But first, for medical health, Dr. David Sinclair takes 2 drugs. The first one is cholesterol-lowering drug. My understanding is that he takes that for his genetic cholesterol disposition, not for slowing down aging. Another medical health drug is baby aspirin, which he mentioned here on his book. Now, he also takes 2 drugs for longevity. The first aging targeting drug is metformin.
I try to take a couple of metformin pills for 2 reasons. One is that my family has a history of diabetes, and metformin is very effective at treating diabetes and even preventing it. So I do that for disease reasons, but also because the work of many labs has pointed to not just animals, but tens of thousands of people in clinical trials benefiting from that drug, which seems to enhance and mimic the benefits of fasting.
He said he takes 1 gram of metformin every day. Does he still take 1 gram of metformin today? This segment is from 2023, 4.5 years after the publication of his book.
Berberine and metformin are 2 molecules that either separately or together work to lower blood sugar levels, which, as I mentioned, is very important for longevity. And so I take 1,000 milligrams of metformin most days of the week.
So 1 gram it is. The last drug targets aging, and it's also the latest addition to his routine. This segment is from late 2023. Here Sinclair disclosed that he takes a longevity drug that he shunned in the past.
Rapamycin?
Yeah.
Are you taking it?
On and off, yes.
I'm taking 6 milligrams once a week.
So the drug he takes is rapamycin, and it works by targeting mTOR. I think what is interesting about this drug that it possibly allows us to eat more protein to recover from intense exercise routine without overstimulating mTOR. So I think it's a very promising longevity drug, but it's pretty experimental. Personally, I do not take it. Worth noting that Brian Johnson also combined this drug with high-intensity exercise. So maybe he also tried to consume enough protein to recover from his intense exercise routine, but also use rapamycin to target mTOR simultaneously. What about the dose? Sinclair did not mention the dose, and specifically I do not want to touch the dose because it's such an experimental drug anyhow. Now let's organize everything. Let's simplify everything that Dr. Sinclair does into his longevity routine, so you can decide if you want to implement that in your lifestyle. So in the morning, with water, 1 gram of NMN, 2 grams of L-taurine, 1 to 2 milligrams of spermidine, and possibly 500 milligrams of TMG. With yogurt, either coconut or milk yogurt, 1 gram of resveratrol, and 500 milligrams of fisetin without quercetin. Dr. David Sinclair probably takes these supplements with a meal. Vitamin D and vitamin K2, dose unknown, alpha-lipoic acid, possibly 300 to 600 milligrams, and fish oil, unknown dose, but I showed you what other experts are doing today. This is Dr. David Sinclair drug list. Metformin, 1 gram at night, and he skips in the nights before exercise. The second is rapamycin, dose unknown, but usually it's taken once a week. For medical health conditions, it takes baby aspirin and cholesterol-lowering drugs. We are not done yet because there is a supplement that Dr. David Sinclair fails to mention. It's super important for your health and longevity. It's called magnesium. If you want to check what other experts are doing with magnesium, which types they're taking, the brands, I have a specific video that is the most popular in my channel. This is gonna complement your supplement routine. So let's summarize the call to actions you can do next. To fully integrate Dr. David Sinclair changes, these are the call to action that I suggest. Dr. David Sinclair has probably dropped quercetin. If you want to know why and to get the quercetin report that I mentioned, go to wellnessmessiah.com/gift. There you can download the report for free. Second, Dr. David Sinclair wasn't sure about taurine. If you want to feel more certain about your taurine supplementation, I suggest checking the taurine research. I'm going to put this in the pinned comment and in the description. And lastly, a supplement that Dr. David Sinclair failed to mention is magnesium. I suggest checking the magnesium video to see what other experts are taking, the forms and the types and even the brands. And if you like this type of content, please subscribe. Subscribe now and stay ahead in the race against time and aging.